Today's episode we're going to be showing how to replace a window. This is a typical casement window. Typical house, old-fashioned house style is going to be the wood type window that they use in the maybe 70s and early 80s, and we're going to be replacing it with a off-the-shelf vinyl type window. The first step you're going to do is you're going to remove the blinds that are on top of the window. Okay, the next step in installing these windows are, you're going to take off the side trim pieces. Just the sides, and you're going to leave the bottom one alone, and you're going to leave the top one alone. The easiest way to do this is to get a metal, almost like a metal scraper or a thin blade crowbar, and put it into the side pieces as demonstrated. Okay, now that the trim is removed off of both sides, as you can see, the next step is to remove the window stop. This is a left side window stop. It runs along the whole entire length of the window. You want to be careful to remove this and try to get it removed in one piece. Therefore, you can reuse it when you install the new window. Okay, now if you notice, we have both window stops removed. Up and down the sides are clear. The next step is to remove the window unit itself, or the old glass units. We're going to do this by opening up the window and removing the metal sides. We're going to demonstrate shortly. Alright, the next step, we're going to remove the metal track here. Sometimes it's kind of difficult. So the easiest way I found is crowbar. You're going to knock it in here. Try to get a grip, and then the next thing you do when you hit it both sides, after it comes loose, you just pull it up and make way. Do the same to the other side. Okay, once both tracks are up and loose, we're going to bend them down, pull the window down, and it pops right out. Okay, easy as that. Sometimes you're going to have a spring that holds it, so just pull everything out. And the same goes for the upper part. You pull the upper down and the loose tracks. Be careful for the upper springs because they can still pop out. Now's a good time to remove those. And with the just give it a little twist and it pops right out. Now's a good time to get a pair of pliers. You want to be careful with these metal tracks because they're very sharp. Just get a regular pair. There's going to be an upper window stop that's going to need to be removed. It's this piece of wood right there. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate that. This clip here, how to remove that. The easiest way to do that is with a wood chisel or a flat piece of wood. Wood removal tool. You're going to give it a couple hits and you're going to pop a piece of wood right out. Like so. If there's any sort of nails or any sort of staples that are popping through, use a pair of pliers, just remove the metal staples from the opening. Okay? Now's a good time. You can use a brush, wire brush or anything like that, to smoothen out the side of the windows, the opening, to make sure that all this is smooth and ready for the new window. If you have any holes in there from prior window openings or window weights, you can clog them up with, you can use insulation or you can use foam. Alright, now's a good time to cut the new window out of the plastic. Okay, windows come encased in a plastic covering to protect them from shipping. When you're doing this, you want to be careful for two things. One, it's a vinyl window, so they're kind of flimsy to begin with. But there's going to be a screen in there. So when you're cutting with the razor blade, let's say, like so, you just want to kind of cut very lightly and kind of pull the plastic towards you while you're cutting. You don't want to cut any of the vinyl surfaces, or you don't want to cut the screen, because that's not going to be good, especially if you're doing this as a business. Okay? So I'm going to cut the window out, and we're going to start for the next, prep it for the next section. Okay, the windows we're using today come with two extra pieces. You're going to have your headspace right here, which just kind of floats up and down on top. We're going to pack it with insulation, regular fiberglass insulation, and place it on top of the window so it presses up against the upper portion of the windowsill. The second portion is the bottom sill stop. Okay, this goes on that bottom of the outside of the window, and it clips onto the bottom of the window. We're going to demonstrate that. The thing I like to do to prep it is I cut off a little bit of this section here, so it fits inside of the window a little bit easier. So what you do, get a razor, and all you're going to do is cut about a ½ inch off here, and then just snip it off, the little clip that goes in. It's going to make installation a lot easier, and it doesn't affect the performance of the window at all. Okay, as you can see, I clipped or trimmed off a little bit of the lip here, and even go one step further is I like to cut a little angle off the side, and that's going to assist when you pound it in. It's not going to push up against the frame and possibly crack your frame. And all this goes inside of the window. It's going to be caulked on the outside here, so this part right here won't even be seen, but it just will make installation a lot easier. Okay, we now place the window upside down in order to place the bottom trim sill piece. Okay, you see this is a channel right here where that trim sill piece is going to fit. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to grab the piece like so, and it's going to sit right in the sill. The tool I like to use when I'm installing the sill is just a wooden hammer, the handle of it, and just kind of lightly tap it in. You start from an angle. Once it gets pushed in, just kind of walk it along the entire window. And then you're going to check the back side and make sure it's properly seated. Okay, the next step is a very easy one. You're going to put a bead of caulk all the way around the mating surfaces, all along here and all the way back down here. And this is to assist the window to seat, and it's going to properly keep the elements out, rain, water in that case. I'll demonstrate right here with the caulk gun. Just going to put a bead of caulk down the inner seal. All the way down the window. This bead of caulk you're going to put fairly thick because you want a good mating surface. Okay, on the base, once you have the caulk all the way around the edge of the window seal, you're going to put some window foam insulation on the bottom. This foam will expand once it's inside the window, so it's going to keep out all the air, make it pretty weather tight. Okay, we've prepared the upper expansion joint. We put insulation inside of it, and now we got to place it on top of the window and press it down to assist in expansion. This part takes a little time to make sure it gets in correctly, but just be sure to do it correctly and it'll have a good seal. Put it right in the gap. Push down in the sill plate and seat the window. Okay, once the window's in, before you screw it in, you want to put a level right. I usually use the mid-riser line or the opening area here. This is where your eyes are generally going to see the window. And you're going to make sure that the window seat is pretty much level. Once it's level, you can proceed with screwing in the bottom screws that hold the window in. Prior to putting the screws in, you're going to want to shim the bottom section of the windows where the screw holes go. You can purchase these shims. They're about $1 a pack or 99 cents a pack. Just give it a quick tap in the corner. Just give it also assists for when it screws in. It's got a hard surface to screw through, and it'll keep your window level and square during the whole process. You're going to proceed to do this on each of the 4 corners. Okay, once you have the window properly shimmed, there's pre-drilled screw holes here. You're going to put a long screw. I like to use a 4-inch exterior screws for this. These are waterproof pretty much. And you're going to put it through the hole, and you want to drill through your shim, because the shim is going to keep the shim inside, placed inside. And just give it a nice You don't want to go too tight because you don't want to drill through the vinyl material. You just want to go until it's nice and flush, okay? And then you're going to proceed. You're going to do all 4 corners of the window. Bottom right, bottom left side, upper left side, and the right side. And what I like to do is I like to keep the level on top of the window while I'm working, because it's going to show me that the window is level and square. Okay, once all your screws are in and the window is properly secure, now's a good time to trim your shims. I just use an X-Acto blade, give a nice cut, score along the shim, and then you just hit it with a ball peen hammer. Breaks right off. Do that with all 4 shims. Okay, the next step is probably one of the most important parts of the process. It's overlooked by a lot of windows. That's why you might get a cold draft if it's not done. It's the expander joint. What you're going to do is you're going to open up the window, and right about here on most windows, I don't know if you can see where my hand is, right here, there's going to be a little notch. You're going to move down this little styrofoam hole. There's going to be a little screw hole in there. Okay, this is going to be your expander hole. What you're going to do is you're going to put the screwdriver in here, like so, and you're going to turn it. And what it's going to do is going to turn an expander, which puts pressure along the inside of the wall, and will push this out against the window, making the window more airtight and give it a tighter seal. So I'm just going to give it about 5 or 6 turns in order to allow the expander to expand and do its job. A lot of window installers and companies, so you can see the expander now hitting the wood and it's putting pressure against the frame. A lot of window installers, they don't know about this part, or they just skip it to save time, and that's when you're going to get the draft along this side. So what you're going to do is you're going to tighten this expander until this little gap here that you see gets closed. Alright, once you have finished tightening up the side piece, the window is pretty much done. The last and final step is, what I like to do is I like to put a little spray foam up in the joint up against the window. As you can see, I put a little bit too much here and it's kind of shut out, but we're going to trim that later once it dries. Pretty easy. Okay? And then the final step after this, once you've completed spray foam, you're going to put that window sill, the piece that we took off carefully, we're going to put it right back on top. We're going to nail it in. We're going to use the air nailer, nail that in, and then we're going to put the trim piece back right on top, the one that we removed, and we're going to use the air nailer and nail that in. And then once you're done with that, you're going to apply a quick, very light line of caulking, the white caulk, painter's caulk, all around the trim to cover up the damage that we've done since we removed it. And if you want to, you can touch it up with the white interior trim paint and you're pretty much done. The total time for this window installation probably takes about 15 to 20 minutes depending on your skill level. Right now I'm able to do it in about 15